Good tuna, but I think I paid too much.
I always wear my mask and wash my hands after going home.
I am the king of the ring.
Welcome to the Japan WUT Podcast, episode 226. And I'm your host, Matthew PMBigelow.com. Coming at you from the Aizumicho Studios in Shinjuku, Tokyo, Japan. The armpit of Asia. Covering Japan Society 5.0, the supply chain wars, growing conflict in the Indo-Pacific, depopulation, migration, and more. We thank you for coming along the adventure that is today's show. I'm synced up with the intro pretty much now. Takes a while. Big day today, busy day as usual. We're recording this on September 9th, 2025. That would be a Tuesday, and I hope it goes up on a Tuesday as well. We'll see. We'll have to get this done pretty quickly. We're going to take a look at some serious stuff today, including more or less comparing some of the autonomous technology that was unveiled at a major Chinese parade, military parade, like the 80th anniversary of Japan surrendering is kind of how it was framed, and comparing it to what Japan is rolling out as well in terms of autonomous tech. And we're also going to take a look at some supply chain stuff by looking at what went down at the Shanghai Cooperation Organization recent meet. If you don't know about this stuff, it really is a blind spot. And I know this is Japan, and we're going to focus on what it means to Japan. But sometimes it's a good idea to kind of say, hey, what's going on over there? And how does that affect me? Because it most certainly will in terms of supply chains and so on, and future growth and so on. But first, what I wanted to do is take a look at a couple of things underneath the Japan banner. Family Mart, the convenience store chain, has recently opened up a clothing store. I'm getting this from Sora News 24, which is widely loathed by not only myself, but most listeners of the podcast. I'm going to kind of summarize it for detail, but they're going to launch their own brand called Convenience Wear. The constantly growing line of shirts, pants, socks, underwear, and more has gotten to the point where Family Mart decided to phase out many of their stores' eat-in areas to help make more room for the clothing. Yeah, the eat-in areas are dirty and bad. Get rid of them. Get rid of them. Now they're taking the biggest leap yet and opening up a new store dedicated to their clothing. The new retail outfit has been given the convenience store's nickname of Famima and had its grand opening in Shibuya on September 1st. It carries nearly all of Family Mart's near roughly 150 articles of clothing, including their most popular item, socks with stripes in the Family Mart color scheme, of which over 28 million pairs have been sold. Just thought that was kind of interesting, where they're trying out new things, and a convenience store opening up a clothing line shop, retail store called Convenience Wear. We'll see how it goes and where it goes, but I just thought that was kind of interesting. We'll see how we'll see how I said that just now, but we'll see how it goes. We'll I'll hire a dedicated reporter, and we'll nothing except this. That's the future for there. Another thing in the Japan field is how clever the scientists are. Now, if you're following what Bill Gates is up to, most of it's pretty evil, undoubtedly. The mosquito thing is the most, one of the oddest things. And I think Google has been doing this as well, where they try to genetically remove the reproductive capabilities of male mosquitoes so that they can't have babies, and then the mosquito population dies. And so, like, I've seen videos of this, of genetic, like, helicopters flying above like some place in rural America, and they release millions of mosquitoes, hundreds of thousands of genetically modified mosquitoes that can't breathe, and they just fly out of this helicopter, and it's like, that's the science. And everybody's kind of going, we're not sure about this. How did you get approval for this? Like, I can't leave my plastic labels on my plastic bottle without having somebody complain, but you can just go up and release hundreds of thousands or maybe even millions of genetically modified mosquitoes and hopefully that reduces the population, and it doesn't. So what do we got? What do we got now? What is that? But why not take a page from Jahan's book? And it says, this is coming to us from actually about a month ago, August 14th, 2025. I may have mentioned it in passing, but I wanted to focus on it because it's an example of how clever you can be with things that have always been there. And this will go into that. Japan-led research finds method to prevent mosquito mating by targeting hearing. A research team led by a Nagoya University professor has announced it has discovered a mechanism that prevents mosquitoes from breeding by disrupting the male mosquito's hearing, making it unable to locate a female. And this is coming to us from the Mainichi, Japan's national daily since 1922. I have my 1-month-old son in the room. He just farted. The team, led by neuroscience professor Azusa Kouchi, said it may be possible to eliminate mosquito-borne diseases without using insecticides by applying this mechanism. Or Bill Gates. Because mosquitoes transmit various diseases, control measures are urgently needed, blah, blah, blah. The research team focused on the antennae of a male yellow fever mosquito, which is known to transmit dengue fever, Zika fever, and other diseases. To successfully mate, males are known to detect the location of females by shaking their antennae to match the frequency of female flight tones. However, the mechanism behind this movement was previously unknown. That's what I mean by using things that are already there. Vibrations. After closely examining the auditory organ in the antennae that functions like an ear, researchers discovered that a neurotransmitter called octopamine enters the organ and controls the shaking motion. When this neurotransmitter was artificially removed or deactivated, the antennae could no longer match the frequency of a female's wing beat. The team also identified a compound that blocks the function of octopamine. I think that's how you say it. Octopamine? Octopamine. I'm saying octopamine. You can choose your own way, listener. Professor Kamikouchi said, quote, by mixing the compound into food or spraying it, there is potential to prevent breeding. As global warming increases the risk of mosquito-borne diseases in Japan as well, we hope to develop new mosquito control methods. The end. Yep, you got to put in global warming if you want any money in your science these days. They didn't say diversity. And for our diversity and global warming, then you get even more money. I just thought that was interesting that they're targeting the sound of the vibrations of antennae that match the wing beats of female mosquitoes, and then by interfering with that, then you prevent them from breeding. So you don't need to release genetically modified males into the population at large. And is that like a message? Like, we're doing this to mosquitoes now, and we're coming for you next. It's kind of how I feel when I view this stuff now. It's like, are you just releasing all those mosquitoes into the air with a helicopter just to show us that you can do it? And if we don't really say anything or do anything, you'll just incrementally increase the application of this technology until you sneak into my room in the middle of the night and cut off my nutsack and run away and call it science. It's for global warming. And it's like, bye. Now you can't breed. Too many. Anyways, that's Japan. All right, let's get into supply chain wars. Die for the war. Everybody move. Die for the good, for the good. Die for the war. Die for the war. I'll be posting the links for this up at MatthewPMBigelow.com. Make sure to go check it there. Supply chain wars. This could also technically be Japan Society 5.0. I'm going to keep it in this. Sorry.
The fourth industrial revolution will enable us to create a new society. Artificial intelligence will transform the big data collected through the Internet of Things into new wisdom. Society 5.0, a technology-based, human-centered society. The fourth industrial revolution will raise our standard of living and solve various challenges we face. It will, for example, free us from the stress of driving, allowing us to safely visit anyone, anytime. We will have access to the latest medical advancements at a low cost, no matter where we are. AI and robots.
All right, so there we go. We got the supply chain war, which we're all in, and Japan Society 5.0, which we're all in, and these are all converging into the singularity. Whether you believe it, I don't really believe it, but people believe it, and they're pushing us all towards that point. So it's happening whether you believe in it or not. Just like global warming. I don't necessarily give it the credence that everybody else does, but they do. So it's happening whether you like it or not. Oh my goodness. Is my son going to let me do this? So this article is about the recent the Chinese military parade that happened on the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II for China. That's how they do it. And they like to gather in Tiananmen Square to have giant military parades. And I watched it about 5 years ago now, and I was really impressed with the amount of autonomous technology that was being displayed. And this is what I wanted to focus on today. So we can talk about whether it's appropriate to, point fingers at Japan or who apologized and who did what. Did this thing really happen? Was it really this number of people that blah, 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 blah? We're not going to do that today. What we're going to take a look at is we're going to look at what was displayed in the Chinese parade, what Japan has already deployed and in the works, and then stack them up against each other to see how it works. So I got this going with Grok, a little back and forth, and then I did some additional editing, removing some of the things, and the summarizing points are kind of weird with Grok. So it's a collab. I cheated. I've had 3 kids in 5 years. I don't have time to just sit down and do this, so I'm cheating with Grok. But it's not a test. Can Japan keep up with the Xi-Dashians? That's the title of this article. Written by me. Under the crimson banners of Tiananmen Square, China's grand military spectacle erupted on September 3rd, 2025, a thunderous celebration of the 80th anniversary of victory in World War II. Drums pounded like heartbeats of a resurgent empire as 50,000 spectators roared in unison. President Xi Jinping stood tall at the reviewing stand, flanked by Russia's iron-fisted Vladimir Putin and North Korea's enigmatic Kim Jong-un. I disagree with those classifiers. But the absences screamed louder. No Americans, no Western Europeans, no Japanese or Indians. This was China's stage, a bombastic display of might, where 80,000 peace doves soared amid colorful balloons, and a 1,000-strong military band blared anthems of defiance. I watched this on YouTube by AP, Associated Press, and they were simping for China so hard, the American reporters, and they were also saying, Japan's never really apologized for any of the things they've done. They were loving China. Parading through were gleaming tanks and ranks of autonomous wonders, AI-powered drones slicing the sky, stealthy underwater robots lurking in shadows, four-legged robotic wolves prowling the ground, and loyal wingman drones buzzing like faithful guardians. It was a fanfare of steel and silicon, proclaiming China's ascent as a global powerhouse. But what about all that autonomy? Their technical underpinnings? While the parade unveiled China's nuclear triad in full glory, land-based ICBMs like the DF-31BJ and DF-61, air-launched JL-1 missiles, and submarine-borne Julang-3 systems, forming a formidable deterrent umbrella, we're going to focus on autonomy, where AI breathes life into machines, allowing them to think and act without constant human output. Let's begin. Let's take a look first at the CS-5000T drone. This reconnaissance and strike beast uses AI to scan vast areas, process data in real time, and plan missions independently, spotting threats and deciding on strikes like a vigilant scout. Its stealthier cousin, the JG-11, flies alongside manned jets such as the J-35, handling reconnaissance or electronic jamming autonomously, dodging dangers through self-protection algorithms. Underwater, the massive AJX-002 submarine, I think it's like 80 feet long, like let's just say 25, 30 meters, it's a drone, dives deep for surveillance or attacks, navigating solo targeting foes, and coordinating with fleets in group operations. Imagine a silent predator hunting in packs without a captain's orders. Additionally, I just remember this, about last year or something like that, or a couple of years ago, a university facing in a Chinese city facing Taiwan unveiled a patent for a submarine cable cutting anchor, where you have like a junky old big ship on the surface, and then you have this sophisticated anchor that's designed to cut the submarine cables. And you look at this big old junky ship and you don't think it's much, but it has this sophisticated anchor that's been patently designed to cut submarine cables. The idea is that these AI submarines will go in areas where they know these cables exist and scan for them. And then when they locate the cables, it sends coordinates to the ship above the water to go and patrol that area while dragging anchors around. So all of these, in the past year or so, there's been a lot of kind of very coincidental incidents where you have submarine cables being snapped or broken or chopped up. And just by coincidence, there's this old junky Chinese ship there. Well, this is what could be happening. On land, robotic wolves, quadruped machines, biomimetically engineered, step into battlefields to sweep mines, gather intel, or chase enemies, launching mini-drones for air support, all guided by AI that interprets terrain and adapts tactics. Loyal wingman drones form cognitive swarms, where a piloted plane directs but the drones execute autonomously, sharing data for distributed attacks. Countering threats, the HQ-29 interceptor zaps satellites or missiles with precision, while the J-15DT aircraft deploys AI-driven jamming to confuse enemy radars at lightning speed. These are all very basic. I didn't want to go too much into the weeds, but just as an overview of the autonomous technology that China's rolling out, is your country doing that? Are you aware of these things? These systems fuse sensors, AI algorithms, and hardware for seamless air, land, and sea integration, pushing intelligent warfare where machines learn and evolve mid-mission. Mid-mission. Sounded like I said admission. But is Japan keeping up with the Xi-Dashians? Japan's self-defense forces are methodically rolling out autonomous tech to bolster defenses amid regional tensions and a declining population. You can't just train up all of your young men, send them to die in a war while importing millions of third worlders into Japan. That's not a good strategy to have your country exist if you want it to exist in any meaningful way that it had existed before. The Maritime Self-Defense Force adopted the VBAT drone in early 2025, a vertical takeoff system, VTOL, right, for ship-based surveillance and targeting in jammed environments, powered by AI for independent navigation. On the Ground Self-Defense Force unveiled a laser counter-drone system in 2024, mounted on trucks to detect and destroy hostile drones up to 1.2 kilometers away. Lasers are pretty good for this application with drones. A lot of drones have plastic components. So if you can train a laser on a plastic component, you can, for example, right on its quadcopter or an exposed part of the drone that relies on something for navigation, like maybe a sensor or something like that, or the front camera, if there's such a thing. If you damage that, then the drone becomes kind of not really usable. It's kind of like chopping off an arm or something like that. But if you point lasers at rockets that are moving at Mach 4, whatever, supersonic, hypersonic speeds, well, it takes a long time for a laser to melt through the steel casing of a rocket or whatever. So with the amount of plastics being used in drones, lasers are becoming more and more of a investment that's worthwhile to counter future adversarial attacks. On the ground self-defense force unveiled a laser counter-drone system in late 2024, mounted on trucks to detect and destroy hostile drones up to 1.2 kilometers away. To repeat myself, quadruped Vision 60 robots, tested since 2024, patrol bases for security and data collection, while unmanned ground vehicles like the Mission Master SP and the Themis handle logistics and recon trials. By 2026, around 310 small attack drones will join, designed for explosive strikes on vehicles or ships. Naval frigates like the Mogami class incorporate automation to cut crew needs, deploying uncrewed underwater vehicles for monitoring. Broader AI efforts include task forces for swarming drones and manned-unmanned teaming, inspired by U.S. systems, with doubled funding in 2024. But how did Japan and China stack up against each other? China's autonomous arsenal dwarfs Japan's in scale and ambition. Thousands of domestically produced units versus Japan's hundreds, often imported from allies like the US and Europe. China's tech leans offensive, stealth strikes, swarms, and cross-domain AI for dominance, while Japan's emphasizes defense, like the ISR and counter-drones, blending homegrown innovations with foreign buys. China's self-reliant massive production outpaces Japan's incremental collaborative approach, constrained by budgets and demographics. Yet, as Xi Jinping's gaze swept over the parade's autonomous legions, drones whirring, robots marching in flawless sync, the message was clear. China's mechanical horde, born of Xi's vision, heralds a new era of deterrence, casting a long shadow over Japan. For Tokyo, this fanfare of fangs means urgency. Bolster alliances, sure, but more importantly, take a page from Xi Jinping's book and learn how to do this stuff yourself, so that maybe one day you too can keep up with the Xi-Dashians. Die for the war, everybody move. Die for the good, die for the war, die for the war. So I included that segment in the supply chain wars because of the focus on domestic versus import of that crucial technology. So mostly Society 5.0 because if it's AI involvement, but when you think about how you make it in the procurement, then it becomes a supply chain war. All right, next I think we're going to go back and we're going to focus on the economy.
I'm going to eat all the bugs.
Okay, you're just going to eat them one at a time though, okay?
Okay. I got one. I'm going to go catch that one.
No, finish the one that you have in your mouth first.
That's the wrong jingle, but I'm going with it anyways. So recently we had the Shanghai Cooperation Organization and the summit there, and we're going to focus on that and look at why it's important, even though it sounds like it's pretty dull, but it's not. It's insane. We'll be taking donations at paypal.me/Japan WUT. That's paypal.me/Japan WUT. We thank you for your donations. So I'm going to call this the $30 trillion that ain't yours. It's kind of looking at more of an economic impact. So it's one of those reports. But if you don't know about it, just listen because it's important and you should know about it. The Shanghai Cooperation Organization, everybody's just tooting off right now, a Eurasian alliance founded in 2001, has grown into a powerhouse representing nearly 40% of the global population and a $30 trillion economy. With 10 member states, including China, Russia, India, Pakistan, Iran, Belarus, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, and Uzbekistan, a lot of stands, the SCO drives regional security, economic integration, and a non-Western global vision. This ties into BRICS, and this ties into the Belt and Road Initiative, all these kind of intermingling systems that they're developing now. And this is to set up a Eurasian powerhouse, which the Americans have really been against because it offers a counterbalance to American central hegemony. The 25th SCO Summit held in Tianjin, China from August 31st to September 1st, 2025 was its largest ever. Japanese stakeholders, policymakers, businesses, and citizens should probably know a little bit about these economic outcomes because Japan is not involved, but it is indirectly with regarding implications in supply chains and the presence of key global leaders in Japan's absence. I kind of get the feeling that these people are like not calling Japan. There's a bit of a FOMO, the fear of missing out. I don't really think so, but with all the like $30 trillion, Japan's right here. We get the call? Nope, nobody gets the call because we are a G7 WEF country, and the lines in the supply chain war have been drawn. If you want to know more about that, go back to my recent podcast about the African villages in Japan and how I dovetail that into Japan's AI satellite surveillance of African countries and how Japan is trying to counter China and Russia by being a kind of an envoy of the G7 in Africa through these initiatives. Go back and listen to it. It's pretty interesting. So the economic outcomes. The summit, chaired by Chinese President Xi Jinping, saw prominent leaders like Vladimir Putin, Modi from India, and Pakistani Prime Minister Sharif shape its economic agenda. Xi pushed for an SCO development bank to fund infrastructure, pledging 2 billion won, only about $280 million in grants, and 10 billion won, which is $1.4 billion in loans to member banks, alongside 100 community projects. I hate the word community. Just as an aside, I had heard that Russian President Vladimir Putin had been against these moves because it kind of gives China more leverage over Russia. But in the future, it really is going to be a Chinese-led consortium, and it's going to be economically driven by Chinese AI. Russia just can't keep up, even though they're pretty good at what they do these days. You know, it's not like some Soviet hellhole, but what China is doing is light years ahead, and they know that. So I think probably Russia will just send all of its energy to China and get rich off that, kind of like what Canada did with the U.S. for so many years. Something similar to that. Maybe they'll go to war in 80 years. We don't know. Maybe they'll become woke, shut everything down. Who knows? But for the foreseeable future, that's my call. The SCO trade agreement advanced to reduce trade barriers, while the SCO Interbank Consortium expanded to align with China's Belt and Road Initiative, enhancing Eurasian connectivity through railways and ports. Putin emphasized genuine multilateralism, reinforcing the SCO's counterbalance to Western institutions. Modi's participation underscored India's role in balancing SCO dynamics, critical for Japan's strategic alignment, apparently. It just makes Japan aligned in it because of Japan's growing partnerships with India and then India in SCO. Japan might be like a little girl kind of going, "Can I go too?" as the big brothers head out. These leaders' commitments signal a robust economic bloc with China's trade with SCO members exceeding $2.3 trillion. Just as an aside, Donald Trump, the Russian agent, no, I don't believe that. The U.S. President Donald Trump had told India to stop importing Russian oil or face tariffs. India didn't, so they got more tariffs. And then India just went to this SCO meeting. So it's kind of saying, you know, whatever, multipolarity is on the table. We don't need to just be all super America. Japan, though not an SCO member, is linked through India. And Modi's presence there in Tianjin, his first visit since 2018 to China, highlights India's delicate balancing act within the SCO and with Japan. Amid U.S. tariffs on India and China, India's deepening SCO ties could strain Japan-India cooperation. Japan's free and open Indo-Pacific strategy, promoting open trade, contrasts with the SCO's China-led vision, requiring Japan to monitor these dynamics to maintain regional influence. Just as an aside, when Japan had this free and open Indo-Pacific strategy, that was a lot to do with former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, who was shot dead in the street, if you believe that. And so I think as more and more of the world looks at Japan not moving in a strong and convincing way these days, like it's pretty crap, probably people are turning away, saying, yeah, you know what, Japan, not what they used to be. We better make other plans. They're kind of being weffy over there. They're kind of going real weff. The SCO's focus on Belt and Road Initiative linked infrastructure, driven by Xi Jinping and supported by Putin and Pakistan, could reshape Eurasian trade routes, affecting Japan's access to Central Asian resources and Middle Eastern energy markets, where SCO dialogue partners like Saudi Arabia are active. New Shanghai Cooperation Organization trade networks may challenge Japan's supply chain efficiency if they prioritize member states. You got a tariff on India? Well, now G7 affiliated countries have tariffs on them. Something like that. Yeah. The summit's emphasis on digital economy and e-commerce, championed by Xi, could introduce standards requiring Japanese firms to adapt for SCO market access. However, Japan could leverage India's SCO role to explore indirect market opportunities, ensuring supply chain resilience. Well, regarding that, this has been in the works for a while, but more of an approval or setting forth of India building Japan bullet train networks in India as opposed to Chinese. So India is playing both sides, looking for economic opportunity while maintaining sovereignty. Because if you have Chinese infrastructure in your country, a lot of people view it as that's China kind of thinking it's theirs actually, whereas Japan will just sell it to you and let you use it. The SCO's economic rise, led by Xi, Putin, Modi, and Sharif, signals a shifting Asian order. Japan pretty much got to track these developments to safeguard its supply chains and economic interests. Strengthening ties with India and engaging SCO dialogue partners could help Japan navigate this multipolar landscape effectively. Or, that's the AI making that conclusion, and it's like very general. This is another Grok-assisted one. I'd read it earlier and I thought it was okay, but I would say Japan relying on WEF and G7 and constantly kind of couching its sovereignty within these frameworks, it makes it feel it's an unwelcome presence, actually, for most of the world. People that are in this cult don't know they're in a cult, but they're in a cult. And so you go and you spread these values and you think you're just spreading common sense. But a lot of people in the world go, oh, you're part of the WEF cult, this new agey thing where we're going to have to do carbon sequestration or turn off our power plants, or you start going to get into our politics and start shifting the way our society is. No, we're not doing that. We promise. It's like, you don't know you're not doing that, but that's what you exactly might just be doing. So a lot of people are waking up and they're just saying, yeah, these people might be authoritarian madmen, but at least they leave us alone. And that's probably why Japan should care. Remember, you can always go to MatthewPMBigelow.com and get the links there.
I'm gonna eat all the bugs.
Okay, you're just gonna eat them one at a time, though, okay?
Okay. I got one. I'm gonna go catch that one.
No, finish the one that you have in your mouth first.
We'll be taking donations at paypal.me/JapanWUT. That's paypal.me/JapanWUT. We thank you for your donations. A couple of years ago, the Japanese media was really pushing eating bugs. Again, a WEF thing. It never really took off, but there was enough of it to make a jingle for the segment, and I've just never gotten rid of it because I quite like it. Kind of like I never got rid of this one either. This is another jingle that I just was hoping I'd find a use for, but never did.
Tim Hirschner of Cincinnati loves his Honda Civic wagon because he can fill it up with everything he needs to fill up his hot air balloon.
Like an advertisement from the 70s. And then I wanted to use this one more, but, it got so tiring.
Coronavirus. The Wuhan flu doesn't kill you. The media panic will. Now do whatever the government tells you to do.
All these jingles, they never found a home. that's going to be it for the Japan WUT podcast today. It's only 35 minutes long. I'll finish off with a song. This is a song called With AI. We kind of covered the military aspects of AI, but what I kind of got tired of was just how much AI is being used to make life more boring. In fact, like, this will speed up our minutes at the meeting, or, we're going to do AI transcription and it will be turned into an MP3 file so you can listen to it after. All these kind of things where we kind of like present ourselves as this AI superpower and we're going to make AI everything. And then it just becomes more corporate drivel. So we're going to play that. And this was made by Suno and I wrote the lyrics myself.
So much fly hype around AI. It's whispering a true revolution everywhere, all the time, and it's gonna blow our mind. Sure thing. An algo in the cloud and plant sparks. We never knew how it automates coupons in the IoT. Some do go. Oh, yeah. The traffic flows with its digital twin. Digital twin. AI is all for the scroll zombies, looking at the phones all day. Even on the stairs in the toilet, it's what they love, actually. Millions of minds already gone, their minds locked in a digital realm. AI for the corporate managers, yes sir. The AI will be so efficient, they'll have 300% more meetings. The charts and graphs will write themselves, and the minutes will be audio high. With AI, with AI, with AI, everyone downloads their mind from the cloud, their face a key for everything. Gotta give me that IoT coupon, IoT coupon. It's not in the future, it's happening now. On the Japan WUT, on the Japan WUT, what won the Japan WUT podcast? With AI, with AI, everyone downloads their mind from the cloud, their face the key for everything. Gotta give me that IoT coupon, IoT coupon. With AI, with AI, with AI, everyone downloads their mind from the cloud, their face the key for everything. Gotta give me that IoT coupon, IoT coupon.
All right. Thank you for tuning in, everyone. Remember, MatthewPMBigelow.com for links and more, and donations at paypal.me/JapanWUT. Until next time, I bid thee a very heartful and warmful ja mata ne.